Hare Krishna. Glories to Prabhupada. Okay, I'm just waiting for a few more people to hop on here. Today's class will be a little bit different. Um, I'm for 2 weeks before the Puri Yatra in Kerala in this Ayurvedic retreat center. I went before and I had COVID, so I'm just finishing up. It's probably something I'll do every 7 years, Krishna willing. Um, they purify your body in various ways, and they're quite efficient. But somehow when I'm here, I kind of, my eyes are always itchy, and there's a few problems with them. So within it, they give this eye treatment. And one thing they do, I'm explaining this because it's going to explain the class. It's going to be a little bit different, is they make a bridge of dough around your eyes. And then they have medicated ghee. And then you close your eyes and it's kind of hot, but just, not burning. And you close your eyes and they put it on. And then when you tolerate it cool, then you open and blink your eyes for 15 minutes and your eyes are swimming in ghee. So as a result, I can't actually read anything now. Even I'm looking at myself, I'm a complete blur, and the page is a complete blur. So excuse me if I really can't continue the Brihat Bhagavatamrita, but I'll just speak extemporaneously and just share, some of my experiences. The Puri Yatra is coming up, and I guess last year was quite a big year after COVID. Those of you who are there, we will fill up the building, but we used to have a lot of people outside too. But we'll bring the Russian people in, and we have the same kirtaniers coming, plus some others, and we're planning some new things this year. We want to go to this village, incredible, beautiful village, Dasabari, where there's just this humble, you know, frankly, Sudra kind of, if a caste or something that became a great devotee, but it's a beautiful village, and we'll go there and do kirtan. And I remember giving class under a coconut tree, and it was the winter, and the men there was just wearing gumshoes because it's Puri, and I just thought, wow, there's a place where you can just live with a gumsha, and you can't starve. There's enough coconuts under that tree with, the coconut also has fat and it's thousands of coconuts in one tree. You can live the rest of your life with a family. But, that simple living and high thinking that Prabhupada wanted, not like that, but just kind of, it's attractive. And as I get older, I'm more attracted to that. Even here in it's a really incredibly well-run place. I wash my own clothes and hang them up on the line, even though they have Adobe. There's a certain joy to that also. But those of you who are there, I give the morning class, and it's somehow I feel like really empowered in those classes. And what it is, I'm lecturing in Vrindavan, and then I go to Mayapur usually, and it was like 3 weeks, and I'm lecturing there, and on the same subject. And when I come to the Puri Yatra, I feel like, this level of unconscious competence because the frame of reference is so profound, so deep in my consciousness that when you have that kind of feeling, it's really Shabda, transcendental sound easily can flow through you, and it's a higher level of mental and intellectual activity, but I have to really know the subject, and this year it's like the first year, somehow or other doing something on Brihad Bhagavatamrita, but I did it. I just couldn't, and I'm here, and it was like a transcendental anxiety for one day. What am I going to speak on? And there are some really great people coming too. Somehow not from America this year. Somehow everyone that was coming had an absolute legitimate excuse not to come. Death in this thing, or having to take care of their guru, or just so many things came up for each person. And I have the Govardhan and Vrindavan, which some people prefer just to go to that. But anyway, still, there's important people coming for me. And I really want to be at my best. And I know part of the retreat that's one of the elements. And I just didn't have anything. And whenever there is that kind of dilemma, to me, there's an easy solution. And that's take shelter of the holy name. It's Radha and Krishna. I explained that in the last class. They're there. It's not that we don't have mercy. We all have mercy. We're just not accepting it because we don't want that fully in our life yet. And Krishna responds to our desires. When we want Krishna, we have Krishna. It's as simple as that, the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. So, chanting, and I have my own routine, but somehow or other, the mind becomes so pacified and clear. So I came up with an idea, and I'm going to share what that idea is with you. And maybe, I don't know, maybe even I'll live stream those classes. Yeah. We also want to go to a few new places like Jagannath Vallabha Gardens, where Lord Chaitanya stayed in the Rath Yatra, Indradyumna Sarova, the Gundicha Temple. We have Hari Parshad, probably the most learned Vaishnav in Hare Krishna movement of Prabhupada's. He's going to be giving classes every evening too. So I figuring it, and then I wanted to figure what was the class that I'll give and what will I title it, because that's also my nature. So this is the class I'm going to give. I'm not going to give the class, but I'm going to tell you what the class is. And then I haven't formulated my Monday morning greetings, but I'm going to share with you my process and what I'd like to do there. And that'll be the class today. And it may have to end a little early also, because today was they call it Varechana. That's the laxative day. And you eat very simple food. And at 7:00, I meet with Niranjan Swami and Bhakti Vigyan Goswami. So I may have to go to dinner a little and end the class early. But anyway, we'll see. So I thought about it, and I thought, well, what am I speaking on is the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. But I just don't want to keep on. It's similar themes that come up again and again. What? But anyway, I thought of something that I'd like to try to present, and it would be. And then the other thing is, I was thinking, well, Hari Parshad speaking on Rupa Goswami, and of course that's connected to Puri, but and I'll speak on Sanatana Goswami, Brihad Bhagavatamrita. That's connected kind of to Puri, but something on Lord Chaitanya. So I thought, and then the idea came to me that I'd speak on Lord Chaitanya's mission and the genius of Srila Sanatana Goswami in presenting it, and give another angle to the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. And the angle I want to give is this. I've shared it with you, but I haven't put it all together. But really, I want the class almost like in 3 or 4 parts. The first part is the mission of Lord Chaitanya, because Sanatana Goswami was given the service to present that to the world. And that's the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, which is the first book that's composed by the 6 Goswamis after they met Lord Chaitanya. And then, explain what, Lord Chaitanya's mission. It's to give, but not only to give something and give us the tools to receive it. And that's this Raganuga Bhakti, this spontaneous devotion. And really not only spontaneous devotion, but a taste for the highest level of that spontaneous devotion. And I always quoted at the beginning of Brihad Bhagavatamrita, the very first verse, that, what is that? Parama Dasha Antim, Dasha stage, the lastmost stage. And that's what he has to explain. And you really need tools to understand it. Because and Krishna's Kaviraj, him also, but they're concerned that you can understand it without, that you have the tools to understand it. Because it's not enough that the truth is spoken. The truth has to be understood. Even in terms of language, the truth can be spoken, even in terms of the same language. Even in terms of how our consciousness projects according to our previous experiences on what we hear. And the thought of how to present the highest truth, which there's so many in the very beginning, which Lord Krishna doesn't understand. To understand it and realize it, Krishna has to take this position. And what is Lord Chaitanya? Lord Chaitanya is Krishna taking the position of his own devotee to experience his own form and ecstatic love. Krishna has to take that to experience and realize it. And that's Lord Chaitanya. And he's not only experiencing and realizing it, he's giving it. And who he's giving to? He's giving to the devotees. And who's that? He's giving it to us. And somehow or other, he has to explain that. So somehow in my class, I've done this before, I want to give what Lord Chaitanya's mission is and the difficulty of it. And having then the mission to actually communicate that. The ability to communicate that. And that entails giving an audience a frame of reference to understand it. Even in the Gita is a classic example. One time Borijan Prabhu and I was one of the original people to form the VIHE. Sometimes people talk about the good old days in Krishna consciousness, but there was definitely something about it, but there was no education in it. There was no formal education in it. And there was very little understanding of the depth of it. Although Prabhupada gave everything there, we didn't have mature devotees so much to explain it. Just like we talk now about the term manjari, for I would say no one even ever heard that term or really even knew what it was. And what to speak of systematic study of the Shastra. It wasn't there. It was new devotees, and Prabhupada was having them give class and get realization. So many tools they were getting. Actually, I just spoke to Raghunath on the phone today, and from the Echo Village, and he met this godbrother there of mine who's was in Krishna conscious movement from 1973 to 77. When Prabhupada left, he went away and he became a professor at Columbia University. And he was a friend of Pradyumna's, and somehow he wound up at the Echo Village for treatment, and Raghunath somehow Pradyumna said he should go see him, and Raghunath went to go see him, and they spoke and everything like that. And Raghunath was appreciating, the speciality. He's only there for 4 or 5 years, but there's something that he got to the extent that after all those years, Raghunath still was respecting him. So there was something special. We talked about that. And Raghunath was really appreciating the disciples of Prabhupada in that way. But in the same sense, this educational system wasn't there so much. Okay, kind of went off on a tangent, but I'll get back here because anyway, somehow, right. You have to have the tools. So Sanatana Goswami has this kind of mission, and then so that's the first part, and how he became empowered. Because when you get when you have to explain the depth of Krishna consciousness, it's not just going to be an intellectual phenomena. The intellect is there. It's part of the process to understand what you're getting, but the full understanding of what you're getting is realization. And realization is beyond that intellectual. You understand it, but you realize it. And the realization of it takes a depth of faith to embrace it within your heart. And because this is what I was speaking with Bhakti Vigyan Goswami and Ranjan Swami, because it's Shabda, because it's transcendental sound, it has its own relationship with you. So anyway, he had to have that kind of understanding and depth. And therefore, there has to be humility, and there has to be prayer, and there has to be revelation, not just intellect. You can miss it just by intellect. There was a famous scholar in India, I think his name is Dayananda Saraswati. He started what's called the Arya Samaj. I forgot, they rejected the Gita. I forgot something. But he had known 6,000 books by heart practically. And there were people in India called Shruti Dhara. Shruti Dhara means to hold by hearing. to hold by hearing, as opposed to going in one ear and out the other. By hearing once, they can memorize things. And very frankly, you sometimes come in contact with elevated, Brahminical, born perhaps, people coming to Krishna consciousness who just, it's phenomenal. But somehow or other, by his intellect, he saw one day a Shiva Linga and a rat come in and pass stool, and then he rejected, how could this be? This is God, this is Lord Shiva. He rejected deity worship, rejected so many things. So it's not just the intellect. Tesham satatiyuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tvam enama. I give them the knowledge by which they can come to me. But there has to be that faith to accept it, and faith to try to understand it and make that effort to understand it. And therefore, Prabhupada described guru-disciple relationship is, it's not intellectual, but it's not like the guru zaps you with his finger, an electric shock, but it's the use of the intelligence in Krishna's service. And then there can be anyway, that's the first part, and then the second part is this brilliant revelation on how to present this, how to actually, in a condensed form, for us, give us the emotional and intellectual tools to understand this concept and have faith in it. And that was his genius. And anyway, there's discussion whether there's history or whether it's a story, but either way, it's reality, because there's different ways to explain the truth. Actually, one time I knew this very, very distinguished Indian man. And he just said one thing to me. He said, history, the names are true, but the story is false. And fiction, the names are false, but the story is true. So what actually is history and what's true? But the fact of the matter, this story, whether it's channeled somehow to Sanatana Goswami, and I explained that before to this group, I don't have to explain it again, but how this, what he wants, which is a condensed form of a philosophical presentation to present not only the conclusion of the Bhagavatam, but the inner meaning and depth of the Bhagavatam, which is to understand purely the high spiritual essence of the relationship between Radha and Krishna, which have forms that correspond to something mundane. But the consciousness behind it has nothing to do with anything mundane, but it has to do with the highest reality. And what's the highest reality? And it's so reasonable for us to accept this as the highest reality. Rasa vai saha. I am this love. It makes sense to us. That's what we value the most. If we want to use logic to understand what is God, I use a simple logic that everyone is looking for love. Everyone is looking for pleasure, and pleasure is love. So if this exists here, why shouldn't it be there in the ultimate source, the ultimate reality? That's our conception. We accept it not on our logic, but it is reasonable that the ultimate reality is an exchange of love. And what can be a more perfect template of that, then the sentiments of Srimati Radharani, Ashlishya va padaratam panastumam madarshanam mamahatam karoti va. You may crush me by your embrace. You may make me brokenhearted by not being before me. But, you are my Lord, life after life. That's the last chapter in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Shikshastakam prayers. And it kind of describes like this history of the Shikshastakam prayers. That Lord Chaitanya is reflecting on his mission. He's reflecting on his mission and on the holy name and how powerful that holy name is. And he's reflecting on it. And as he's reflecting on it, as he's reflecting on it, he's just feeling that, how powerful this was, the holy name and his mission. And then from his heart comes the glorification of the holy name, which is the Shikshastakam, which is a glorification of the effects of the holy name up until the highest stage of love. Pratipadam punamritas vardhanam. Pratipadam, tasting at every step. So he's reflecting, and what he's reflecting on is a very beautiful thing. That Krishna, he leaves Radharani, and she's in separation, and her Sakis, her girlfriends, they're telling her, leave Krishna. Look how he's treating you. You leave Krishna. And then Radharani says, Ashlishya va padaratam panastumam adarshanam mamahatam karo. He may make me brokenhearted by not being before me. So, to present that, he realizes that somehow this is very deep, and even wasn't recorded in the Bhagavatam itself, but after the Bhagavatam was spoken, out of love for his mother, who was a great devotee, Maharaj Pariksit gave exactly what Sanatana Goswami needs. A very intriguing story that condenses the Bhagavatam, doesn't have the same story, but the philosophical thread is exactly the same, which is a progressive depth of understanding of what is pure devotional service and what are the main characteristics of one who has that. So that by hearing that, you appreciate and you come to that basic core level of humility, of lack of envy, of a sense of pure devotional service, of detachment, of not this militance of not wanting to be the center, and wanting to just be the servant, and appreciating that completely. And then a very, very subtle progression of, as Prabhupada said, greater freedom of love, greater revelation of God. Niranjana Swami made a very nice point. He's really become a scholar of Bhagavatamrita. He said Vaikuntha means without anxiety. So if people have reverence for God, he's not going to confuse them with his intimate side. That's not their pleasure. Come in.
They're taking anything?
What time is it now?
It's after 6:30, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'll come down in about 10 minutes.
Okay, I'll wait for you to come down.
Oh, I should go to your room?
I'll go down in 10 minutes too.
Okay. What time is it now? It's 6:30?
What time does it say on your computer?
What?
What time does it say on your computer?
I can't see because I had this treatment.
What are you doing with your computer in front of you?
I'm giving class, but I can't
Oh.
see. You want to say hello to everyone?
No, I want to see what time.
Oh,
I don't know, it says 8:02.
okay. 8:02 means 6:30. I can't, I'm technology challenged. I can't change things. The computer's still living in America.
6:32.
I'll come at 1:45.
Okay.
I'll need 15 more minutes. Wow. Anyway, I thank you for let me explain what I'm trying to do. I haven't really prepared it. And then after presenting this progression of the Bhagavatam that has this effect of emotionally and intellectually giving you the frame of reference to understand something that superficially parallels madness, actually speaking. Because if you see Radharani's feelings of love, that it's presented there in Ramananda Siksha, it's presented there in Madhya Lila 2, which I've been studying. It's just this intensity of emotion that is unparalleled of separation and love and saying that this actually is the ultimate reality, this energy, this between the Shakti and Shaktiman, between, and then, and it's carrying you along in this story, and at the same time giving you the tools to do it. It's so brilliant. And then the story kind of culminates, which I'm really anxious once I get through this 5th chapter. The 6th and 7th chapter is amazing because he's finally led to Uddhava Narada Muni. And when he goes to Uddhava, whether it's a poetic vice or Krishna raises historically, it's just such an incredible thing. Narada is sent by Ugrasena, who's the king. They point him to him. He's the head of Dwarka, and he just sends him like Uddhava's. No, not Dwarka, but anyway, Uddhava is the highest devotee. And Narada goes there in incredible enthusiasm. And he comes, and Balaram, Rukmini, Satyabhama, and Rohini, Satya, and Balaram, Rukmini, Satyabhama, yeah, they're outside of Krishna's room. And Krishna's living, it's Dwarka, it's a palace, so he has a nice balcony that's kind of outside too. And he comes. And what happens there is they recognize Uddhava, they recognize Narada, but Narada is looking for Uddhava is there too. I want to see Uddhava. He's so enthusiastic to see Uddhava. And this is the brilliant story, the genius of Sanatana Goswami as his whole story is carrying you towards this high understanding, building up your frame of reference, giving you the heart for it, giving you the intellectual tools for it. And then it comes to the story. I can't wait till we go verse by verse. But what happens is he's going to go see Uddhava. He doesn't even recognize Uddhava. But they recognize Narada Muni. He is guru. So they can't, they recognize him, but his ecstatic state, they can't even identify with. And they calm him down, they wipe his face, and he's just saying, I'm looking for Uddhava. And then Uddhava is there. And then there's this exchange when Narada says to Uddhava, you're the topmost devotee. But Uddhava says, Me bhakta nehi hu. I'm not a devotee. I went to Vrindavan, I saw the gopis. They're the top, because it's looking for the topmost recipient of Krishna's mercy. They're the topmost recipient of Krishna's mercy. And this is the interesting part. Then there's this argument that goes on. Rohini says, I was there and I saw the suffering of Mother Yasoda. How can she be the topmost recipient of Krishna's mercy? Balaram says, I was also sent, and how they're suffering. And how can they be the recipient of Krishna's mercy? Krishna has so little care for them that he doesn't even come. He's not even responding. And then Rukmini and Satyabhama say, no, at night he goes in a threefold bending form and is mad and he's calling the gopis. So there's this discussion that brings up two questions that really have to be answered. Because the question is, this love that appears to be suffering, of separation, devastation, despair. And then the second chapter, it's Lord Chaitanya who's aspiring for this, the second chapter of Madhya Lila, Lord Chaitanya who's aspiring for this love, is talking about the feelings of despair and the feelings of anguish. And this is supposed to be the highest platform? How do you understand that with your logic, your intellect? So the argument, so it brings up two questions. It brings up two questions. How is that the highest love? And if they're the recipients of Krishna's mercy, why doesn't Krishna go back? Which also casts aspersions on his character. Because if he's God, how can he be omnibenevolent, all good, if he's neglecting the people that he supposedly loves the most? Boy, to really make a long story short, Krishna comes out and he finds out what's happening. He was already in bed. He hadn't gotten up because he was just in anxiety about the residents of Vrindavan, but somehow not going there. And he gets into the discussion and he just faints out of anguish for the separation. And then there's a whole scene where they take him to New Vrindavan, which is the real New Vrindavan is outside of Dwarka. It's a replica of the real Vrindavan. And they take Krishna there to get him out of this catatonic state. They dress him up in a peacock feather, because he's the king. And they gradually manage to wake him up. And he's in such an ecstatic state, he sees these statues, because Vishvakarma is the expert architect of the demigods. And he sees all these statues and he begins to relate to them as he's in Vrindavan. And that's bringing him out of his transcendental sadness. And then somehow or other, there's part of the story is the history. He reveals, okay, I'm actually the king. But now he goes back to the palace. The queens of Dwarka saw this. They were hiding because they'd ruined the story. Krishna saw them, he wouldn't think I'm in Vrindavan, he wouldn't be revived. But they saw it and they weren't envious. But Satyabhama was upset when they saw Krishna's affection for them. And then Krishna tells Satyabhama, you want to know why I love the gopis? And then Krishna himself explains why he didn't go back and why their love is the highest manifestation of ecstasy. And I can't go into the details, but what I'm trying to explain is the genius of how this carries you along in this intriguing story and brings it out in the terms of a story, which is not just shoving a philosophical conclusion, which you don't have the tools to understand, and bring it to the point in a story where Krishna himself explains it to Satyabhama. He explains why they're the topmost devotees and why he doesn't go back in a way that gives you some frame of reference to accept and understand that this level of love is prema pumartamaham. This is the highest thing. Anyway, somehow or other, this is the first time I've presented it, and I thank you for it because it's helpful to me when I'll probably fill out the details and probably explain this over maybe 3 or 4 days. So that was Niranjan Swami. So nice to get his super saintly association. He's amazing. And I'm trying to strain my eyes. I'm kind of getting a sense. I got to look real clear of my eyes are becoming enough clearly of looking at, wow, all the nice people that came. Jaya, you can start.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you for class. It's so funny when you said your eyes itching, my eyes start to itch. It's like so.
Thank you so much. The disciple, it's like even the physical symptoms come. Wow.
It was so suggestive. I was like,
I can't let this be-
I,
my
I,
well,
I really hope you do live stream those classes. Please try to, or at least record them, because this really wet my whistle for what will happen. I won't be there, but one of the things, something you said right off the.
I will be explaining it verse by verse over the next 6 months. So yeah, go ahead.
Oh, great. Because there's such a synchronicity in the Bhakti Center morning Bhagavatam class. We're right at the point of Uddhava is speaking to the gopis. So it's so nice. And I know a number of us are also on that class. So there was such a good, nice synchronicity of what you were speaking about today from the Bhakti Center Bhagavatam classes. So I was really enjoying that. And I really enjoyed something you said right off the beginning, like when you said, when there's a dilemma, the answer is simple. Chant the holy names. I just thought, well, yep. That was
Well,
like,
I'm going to counter that. There was a big problem in the Krishna Balaram Mandir, and Prabhupada had this devotee as the president, but he wasn't really a manager. He was kind of like a sadhu, right? His name was Koyanandamaraj. He was the president when I came. And Prabhupada asked him, a big problem. He said, what should we do? And he said, chant Hare Krishna. And Prabhupada said, another impractical suggestion. So it goes both ways. Quickly, because I got to go. Just say hello, Hare Krishna. Anybody quickly say Hare Krishna? That's all.
Hare Krishna Gumaraj, Tota Gopinath here. Love the class today.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Great here.
Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, wonderful class.
Henry, thank you for coming. Great to see you.
Good to see you.
Where are you, Henry?
I'm in Washington. I'm in Bethesda. I'm going to Hawaii next week.
Okay, because the background is like a halo over you, so I'm not sure. Maybe, yes, okay. Okay, good. Anybody else quickly?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, this is Krishnamrita. Thank you so much for the class. Greatly. Thank you.
Okay, Haribol. Anybody else? Say hello.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare
Thank you very
Krishna
much.
Maharaj.
Oh,
Thank you for
okay.
it.
Yavid Sundari, get well soon. We
Yeah,
still
thank
have,
you very
I
Yeah, I
guess
have a sick class. Yeah.
you can't go to India now, right?
No, unfortunately.
Okay, we'll plan in the future. Okay,
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
anybody else? Say hello.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Srila Dhanurdhara here. Thanks for the class.
Okay, mother and daughter in different parts of the world. Okay, Haribol. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Garaj, it's all Govinda.
And Braja, thank you for
Thank you for
class.
class.
Hey, Haribol. See you
Haribol.
soon. I think it's about less than 2 weeks away, right? No,
Just-
about 2 weeks.
Just over, yeah.
It's over 2 weeks. Okay.
Haribol.
Many can still write. Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Haribol.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, Brajarada here.
Radhe, Hare Krishna. Nice to hear from you. Okay, I'm gonna go, and on this day where they go, they just give me rice water. But and maybe next Sunday I'll tell my idea probably about my Monday morning greetings, which is interesting. It's the sadhana of Lord Chaitanya. Okay, Vanchakalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhu bhebhacha patitanam pavane